welcome to the podcast. Before we start today, please hit the subscription button, and it really helps the channel if you do so. This week, President Zelenskyy and General Kyrylo Budanov absolutely shook the news cycle, and trust me, what happened deserves your full attention. So let's start with maybe the first shock of the year. Kyrylo Budanov, former head of Ukraine's military intelligence, the GUR, has just pulled off a special operation straight out of a spy thriller. The target, Denis Kapustin, also known as White Rex. And if you missed it, that's what we know. Denis Kapustin, or Denis Nikitin, is a Russian national, far-right activist and commander of the Russian Volunteer Corps, the RDK. This is a pro-Ukrainian, anti-Kremlin unit that has carried out several bold cross-border operations inside Russia. For years, Kapustin has been a top target of for the FSB and with a bounty on his head. Then, in late December 2025, just last year, reports started circulating that Kapustin had been killed in a Russian drone strike. Even the RDK posted a telegram message mourning his death. It looked real, but it wasn't. So on New Year's Day 2026, General Budanov appeared in a video alongside a very much alive and unharmed Kapustin, revealing that his death was part of month-long intelligence operation. The result, Ukrainian intelligence successfully identified the FSB organizers and executors of the assassination plot, and here's the most delicious part. $500,000 American allocated by Russian security service for the hit was obtained by Ukrainian intelligence and redirected to support Ukraine's war effort. Budanov congratulated Kapustin on his return to life and noted that the money meant to kill him would now help defeat Russia. No bad, right? $500,000 American straight from the FSB. Let's call it a very generous Russian contribution to Ukraine's victory. But it wasn't the end of it, of course. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, together with Budanov, created what I can only describe as a political tsunami by announcing that Kyrylo Budanov has agreed to become the new head of the president's office. This is a deeply multi-dimensional move, and Zelenskyy explained it as a way to strengthen Ukraine's negotiation team. And just in case, if it doesn't go according to the plan, and Ukraine has to carry on war with Russia, so Ukraine is sort of like in the war mode with the head of office like Budanov. Budanov is known to be well respected in Washington with strong American connections and, importantly, reliable communication channels with Russia, you know, exchange of prisoners and many, many other things. But let's be honest, there's another theory circulating. Budanov became too popular among Ukrainians, and that moving him into administrative role could cool their popularity. But Budanov became a legend long before any official appointment, and I'll tell you more about it. I can see, hello guys, hello. Thank you for joining me, happy to see you here. Prepare your questions, we will have Q&A with you today. So, Kyrylo Budanov, he is a new generation of military commanders. And before he became known to the world or even official appointment, he comes from the Ukraine's elite commander force, Unit 2245, also known as the 10th Special Purpose Detachment of GUR. This is not just any unit. It was trained with CIA assistant, specializing in clandestine operations, sabotage, exfiltration of high-value Russian military equipment for reverse engineering, and these operators conduct deep penetration missions behind enemy lines, including Crimea and occupied territories. More about this we discussed with former head of defense intelligence, Valery Kondratyuk. I think it was second interview on my podcast. Have a look. There's time codes and everything if you'd like to hear more. Доброго ранку, Трішка. Доброго ранку. Thank you all for very kind words. So, 2245, what do we know about it? So far, as you can imagine, intelligence is quite a thing. They try to hide as much as they can because of the obvious reason. And journalists and the wide public is very excited to know more. So, key facts about this 2245. And this was a turning point. CIA training, it's sort of like when the American intelligence organization started helping Ukraine after annexation of Crimea and Russian invasion to the east. And beforehand, they didn't trust Ukrainian intelligence because Russians used Ukrainian passports to penetrate Europe and the whole world, with own spies. That's why Ukraine wasn't taken seriously. So go to the interview with Valery Kondratyuk if you're interested, and we talk more about it. So, key facts about 2245. Trained by CIA Special Activities Center and something which is named JSOC. It's counter-terrorism and very demanding and very dangerous operation. So those guys prepared 2245, focused on sabotage, intelligence collection, and tech instruction, captured Russian drones, SIGINT system, and advanced equipment involved in daring operations against airfield and naval assets. We talk about this, one of the operations with General Kondratyuk. Feeds capture technology directly into HUR labs for rapid countermeasures. This unit plays a critical role in what many now call the covert technological war against Russia. And Budanov was a rising star here. He wasn't the commander first, and then after the tragedy, when commander was assassinated by Russians in Kiev, then Budanov became the commander, I think. So Budanov was a rising star there, leading key missions long before becoming head of defense intelligence. And he's so well respected by his guys because I met some of them. They were organizing the first operations during full-scale invasion. And they were sharing those off-record insights. How does it feel to work with him or going on the missions with him even after his appointments? And there's an interview I haven't published yet with a guy who part of the GUR, and he says when we all sort of in ammunition and you can't see who is who, and then just about to go on and you can hear the familiar voice and oh, Budanov with us. Oh, that's amazing. Soon I'll publish it and you will hear yourself. So Budanov is not desk general. He was wounded, I think, 3 times known so far, but I can be wrong, again, because it's a secretive situation, during anti-terrorist operation in Donbass. So basically, the war in Donbass when Russia invaded in the east. And one injury was especially severe, mine fragment launched underneath his heart. But I don't know, some say it remains still to this day. And because it's impossible to remove. Former deputy head of Kyrylo Pavlenko, who was also guest on my podcast, he shared insights about Russian spy games in Europe, how they hide it and what methods they choose. So if you're interested in that kind of topics, find him. We have 2 parts of his interview. So Ilya Pavlenko revealed that during one of those battles, Budanov he asked his comrades to leave him behind. They refused and carrying him off battlefield, saving his life. He was so badly injured. And you can basically see now he doesn't hide his right His right arm is sort of, you can see huge scars, and his face is injured. So it's something he's no hiding it, but you can see he went through hell. Then in 2019, there was an assassination attempt, and mine planted onto his car. It exploded. Budanov survived, luckily for Ukraine. And later, Kyiv's Holosivsky district court sentenced 2 Russian citizens to 7 and 8 years in prison for that attack. So, and on 5 years, 6, almost 6, on August the 5th, 2020, President Zelenskyy appointed Colonel Budanov as head of the main intelligence directorate, something we know as Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. And in April 22, he was promoted to Major General. Some of his predecessors on this position was jealous, I don't know, but he was shocked. It's like, how Budanov can be appointed? He jumped over 12 levels of commanders. He's too young, but he proved everyone who was doubting him wrong. And he inspired and supported Ukraine all the way with his work and all operations, and how his team supporting and defending Ukraine. So I met Kyrylo Budanov. As you could see, the photograph on my post on YouTube, I think Chris was asking if it's AI. It's not AI. I met him. It was June 2022. I will leave in the comments the link to the interview. As a news gatherer and producer for ITV, I organized the interview and I translated as I was and as it was going. He understands and can speak English, but interview was in Ukrainian. So when we arrived at his office, because there are moments I would like to share with you which you don't see on TV. So we arrived to the office, and there were several military men, all dressed similarly, Ukrainian pixel, all talking, and Budanov was among them, but he didn't stand out at all. I recognized him, and immediately and smiled. My colleagues just walked past through the whole crew, and it got awkward because until I told the editor, that's our man, that's why we're here. And so I had a brilliant opportunity to have a chat with him because, when there's a big crew, it takes a bit of up to an hour to set up everything, to prepare for everybody to start the recording of the interview. So he's incredibly humble. It was just, he loves sweets because there was sort of like the vase with many, many sweets, and he's a big fan of military history. I noticed there were several books on the side of his desk, and I was thinking, where does he find time to read? And so, as I mentioned, he understands English, and I guess he speaks during negotiations. But during our interview, I had to translate. He even asked if I was qualified as a simultaneous translator. I'm not, but when your job requires, you just do it. So, one funny moment, he had, when we finished, and I expressed him how grateful I was because even I organized it and I was responsible, we were stationed in Ukraine for a whole month, waiting. It's like, it should happen soon, any day. And literally that day was the last one before we had to go back to London. And on the evening of that Friday, I think it was, it finally was happening, and you can imagine my relief, like, oh. And so I was saying, oh, so now we can go back to London, so the mission accomplished. And he's like, but you ours? I say, well, I live in London like forever, my family is there, so it's hard to say. I am sort of in between. It's like, no, you're ours. And we laughed a lot about it. And another moment was was watching him when the camera was on. He just put so serious and so authoritative. And now I think he's more relaxed. But back then, when the camera was off, he seems so smiley and kind of like more approachable. There was quite big shift back then. But now I watch his interviews and I can see he is more comfortable. And even if he's not enjoying the conversation with the journalist, it doesn't really make him shy or anything. So, and another interesting thing about defense intelligence. Defense intelligence is sort of like its epicenter of this alpha male energy, like everyone is superhero. But at the same time, you can see how they strongly respect him. So it's kind of, I know from his team, they try to, do everything what has to be done. They don't like to make him angry, but at the same time, he's not kind of leader or manager who would fire anybody of his team because something got wrong or he's got a bad mood or bad day or something. So he's strict but very sensible. And so if you had the chance, what would you ask Ukraine's real-life James Bond, and what would you like to know about him? Because I do hope that one day I will interview him for the podcast, and I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation for both of us, obviously. I'm excited, I'm feeling excited even thinking about it. And there's another thing you probably should know about him. If Budanov didn't send his officers, his best officers to Kharkiv a couple weeks just before the invasion, Russia probably would occupy the city. And there's quite an interesting story was happening with the local authorities and how things developed. I'm sure people would, the ordinary citizens would stick and try to defend, but authorities, there's a different story. I think it's probably a story for another time, or maybe even for the book. So let's read your comments. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your kind words. Yes, there's restful time. What languages can I speak? Well, I speak English, I speak Ukrainian, I speak Russian, I learn German. I stopped learning French. Hopefully one day I will go back. Hello, Australia. Lots of love to Australia. And also, I have to clarify. I noticed a few of you misread. A few of you misread my post and the picture I posted with General Budanov, where we stand on the day of the interview, and suspected that it was AI. No, it wasn't. And there were a few questions. Okay, let's have a look at those. Goodness sake, you know how to find them. Well, I think any good journalist should have their way to get in touch or connect or hear or find, or that's what journalism is about, isn't it? To find how to access the person of interest. Yes, he did have both. I think it's on the 1st, isn't it? So happy birthday to General Budanov. Madeline, this is Ed saying, excellent, looking forward to this. Madeline, I hope you have some questions about Budanov or to Budanov, or what would you like to know about him? I think Madeline says, can you put the notify button on, please, so I don't miss live. Madeline, I have this button. I checked and I do have this button, so I hope you won't miss it. I wouldn't like you to miss my lives. Wow, you connected if you got a picture with a hero. Just being a journalist. But yes, it's a lot of effort. I won't lie, it's not easy. And even everything is like pointing and everybody promising you to have access or this interview, it might be cancelled anytime. Because first of all, there's war and he's a general. And the other thing, I noticed Budanov does interview when there's political need or where there's a recommendation from president's office, like this is the time we need to talk, you need to talk to this media, or you need to address to this country, and then he would do those things. But otherwise it's not okay. Taliban atrocities user saying you will actually be interviewing him. Well, I hope I will, but not today. Sorry to disappoint you. Chris asking, is there a real picture or AI? Chris, it's a real picture. As I understand it, it is in the head of the office of the presidency, equivalent to vice president of the US. No, I think in Ukraine is the head of the parliament, the speaker of the parliament has the same. So if something happens to the president, the speaker is taken over, like it's happened 2014 when President Yanukovych fled to Russia, and Turchinov, Alexander Turchinov, he was a speaker, so he took over and he was sort of making decisions and representing Ukraine on that level. Chris saying, if so, this is some insurance. If so, is this some insurance that Ukraine will keep fighting in case the Russians somehow get to Zelenskyy? Well, Ukraine will fight, as you can see. And President Zelenskyy yesterday, he had briefing and he explained, because he ruffles a lot of ministers, and I think it's Mikhailo Fedorov due to be appointed new minister, defense minister, because he proved himself very good to implement technological aspects of managing the country. Now President Zelenskyy wants the same for the army. And Zelenskyy explained that if we had to carry on with the war, Ukraine requires fresh energy, because obviously working 24/7 it's exhausting for any manager. And he wants Mikhailo Fedorov, it's still sort of like in the process to implement lots of technological aspects into Ukrainian war effort. Chris said, if you do interview Mr. Budanov live, please tell him that as an American, I'm 100% behind Ukraine, and I firmly believe that the vast majority of Ukrainians feel the same way, despite our unreliable president. Slava Ukraini. Heroям Slava, Chris. I will pass, and I will pass to his communicators. For him to know, to hear, and I'm sure on his quite regular trips to the US, he knows it, he feels it, and even more. Budanov, when he was injured, he was also treated before he was appointed defense as a head of defense intelligence. He was going through treatment in one of the American military hospitals. So I'm sure he has own personal experience with Americans, and even some confusion on the global scene. He knows the core and the true side of the great American people. So thank you for your support, but I will pass this to his team. Also, I can see some of your questions and your comments. Let's go there. At the start, disposable. User saying, at the start of the war, Russians invaded Kherson and Melitopol from Crimea. What went wrong to allow that happen? Right, that would you ask. That's a good question. Well, many in Ukraine speculates that the bridges should be mined, but it wasn't, or it was and then demined. And when it was asked President Zelenskyy, he commented that it will be investigations, and those who did that, or it looks like some responsible for the work operating with Russia, they will be punished. So we are still due to find out about it. And I think such people like Budanov and Zelenskyy, they know, but as country in war, certain information should be publicized at the right time. Hyperbole Death Cult, saying, I will think about this and respond in the comments. Yes, please do. Please do. I think I'm gonna start making screenshots, because then after live, these comments disappear. So, and you don't see the comments which you had during the live, so it's quite disappointing, because last week with Artem, we wanted to look back at the comments and we couldn't. So yes, please do save your questions, and hopefully sometime, because you know Zelenskyy sent his team today to Paris, and a coalition of the willing will discuss it, and we'll have more news about Ukraine's security guarantees. And I honestly hope to see General Budanov as part of the team soon in London, because UK and France, they are the founder of Coalition of the Willing. So London plays a key role in those guarantees, and also London is quite often considered as a place of negotiations. Trishka saying, I read that he was the first person Zelenskyy has chosen who was not from his political background. Is he the first one? Because you see, before Bogdan and Yermak, they are lawyers, and Bogdan related to Ukraine's one of the oligarchs, Kolomoisky, who is arrested and in prison at the moment. And so, yeah, it's quite a new thing. And you see, Ukraine is a war, and Ukraine needs to live in that situation, needs to be prepared to defend itself, even if it's ceasefire. Because with such a neighbor as Russia, you can never relax. So minding that Budanov is not just first generation, he's not just someone who proved himself on many levels and many times. He also learning so fast, and he has he's learning so fast, and he has the ability to pick up the best people around him, the right people. And I see sort of like his advisors and those they do great work. So I just hope that we'll carry on like that. Okay, there's a question for now. What would he have done differently to prevent invasion from the south? Yes, good question. It's a good question. But you see, Budanov is one of those who publicly said against everyone else, including President Zelenskyy, that the war is coming, while President Zelenskyy announced publicly, like, no, it's not going to be war, we're going to have picnics, we're going to have barbecues in May, all good. Now his team and Zelenskyy explaining it, they didn't believe it's going to happen, and the second thing, it's they didn't want to create the panic in the country. Madeline says that also Zelensky isn't going to run again for president. He's tired, and I think his wife would kill him if he did. Well, you see, that's kind of, yes, that's what they declare. And he just recently in the interview in America said, I just want to have a break. And you can see within this time since 2019, and especially since the war started, he aged so much. So he just, it's doctor's orders for him to have rest and recover. But he's so responsible, and he has those leadership qualities that keeps Ukraine fighting and going. And he resonates, his personality resonates great with the people, with the country. And even those who would be called not so much friends or had some conflicts with Zelensky, political conflicts with Zelensky before the big invasion, in our private conversations, they all expressed respect. And they, no matter what, they were ready to follow the leader, because the leader proved himself he's not afraid, and he's doing everything to keep a country going and defending itself. And also, you have to understand, Zelensky was one of the most popular people in Ukraine before his political career. And he is quite a wealthy man, and he has very good circle of friends, and they still catching up and playing, you know, some computer games, and not so often as they would like to, but he has this healthy life. He has something to go back, something more attractive than this exhausting political conversations, this lies from Putin, you know, this challenges with White House, let's call it like that. So it's understandable, and he didn't wanted the ride. He wanted weapon, didn't he? And he stick to his word. So yeah, you, Madeline, right. He needs rest, but he's also ambitious man, and the way how he ruffles all popular people around him makes me think he wouldn't mind to be president again once he recharged his batteries. But it's my speculation. President Zelensky, he's the man who's always ready to do something unexpected, something we are not prepared for. And I think, nevertheless, the team of advisors or communicators he has, he's the best communicator himself, and his intuition and things he does works well for him, and so well works for Ukraine so far. So Madeline saying, so why are all the people paranoid about someone else getting popular? Very strange. Well, some people say, when I was discussing it, that he loves to be the only popular person. And we have to understand, the beginning of war, Ukraine needed more people to believe in, more to lift up the spirits, and the Oreo, the sort of the figures were created through communication, through media, like for example, General Zaluzhny. It's quite a strong myth, and it's quite popular. And those who knew Zaluzhny, General Zaluzhny, before, Zaluzhny is the Ukrainian ambassador in the UK. They all love him. Very intelligent, very lovely, sweet person, and a very good general. But I don't think as a public we had much chance to see and to know General Zaluzhny. Budanov became legend before he was appointed, and he's quite young, and he has very good political perspectives. So I don't know. And Budanov, nevertheless, his age and his inexperience in politics, you know, because he came from this special unit, and he's the guy with the gun, and, you know, going behind the enemy's territory, this front line and all of that. He playing his card very well. He knows where to go public and where to stay in shadow. So, and I think that's what keeps him so long with Zelensky. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe Zelensky had enough of this political life and he wants to go back to his film producing career and those comedy sketches where he was brilliant. I'm just wondering if he goes back to the comedy sketches after, you know, Ukraine settled and all peaceful, what kind of humor is going to be. Because now when he did brilliant jokes about previous presidents of Ukraine, particularly about Kuchma, and there's a sketch sort of how Kuchma was negotiated with Russia about the gas and the prices, and so it was funny, but I think it wasn't very pleasant for former President Kuchma. And I wonder how it would be now for President Zelensky, who felt all of that, and I think the worst of presidency that you can have joke about negotiations or dealing with Russia or anything else. But we will, maybe one day we will find out. Trishka saying, do you know what's happening with General Zaluzhny? I heard he's leaving the post of the UK ambassador. Well, you know, there's another scandal, sort of like scandal without scandal. So there were, at the end, I think it's the end of December, there were published pictures where General Zaluzhny was some resort, some very exotic and forgot the country. He was resting and his wife was in swimsuit and all of that, and it was kind of in the context of while the country is struggling with the blackouts, with the cold, with this political uncertainty, our glorious general is resting and blah blah blah. And then a couple of days later there was from one of the top media, I think it's New Times, they said, oh, Zaluzhny is leaving his position, he's resigned. And then a couple hours later, his media advisor, commentator said he's not going to resign, all well, and it's just no resignation is coming. So as you can see, on the global scene, there's Russia, America negotiations, but internally in the country, there's another political war, and we will discuss it soon. I already agreed with the interview, one of the best political experts from Ukraine. So, and we will look at all those speculations, particularly the role of Zaluzhny or political perspectives of General Budanov. It's something which is coming soon. Because I'm just waiting for our political expert to finish celebrating New Year and Christmas and all of that and be back in the work mode. Trishka saying he was a Walter Reed hospital for treatment. Yes, probably. I don't know. I was looking yesterday when I was preparing, and the only mention, I think it was New York Times article, was mentioned he was in America, which is quite rare experience at that time was for the Ukrainian soldier. I'll check them. Okay, I'll just do another screenshot. Because you're asking all very good and interesting questions and I don't want to lose anything. Okay, Floyd Boudreau saying, hopefully world heavyweight champ Vitaly Klitschko will run the president of victorious Ukraine. Well, I met him as well. Maybe we will do an interview with him. I don't know. He's I met him in we were doing documentary for ITV, the first anniversary of invasion, and with the crew we went to Ukraine, and so there was interview. Vitaly Klitschko is quite a figure, and he's it depends on the day about his interview, and So, and there's a lot of tension at that time. I don't know if it's carry on right now, but there was a lot of tension between President's office and Vitaly Klitschko office. And yeah, so that was quite tricky, but we were discussing pretty neutral topic for the sort of like how the mayor of the city which is about to be captured by Russians carry on and so bravely fighting, blah blah blah. Yeah. um, I don't know, sort of like if you're gonna be a good president. I don't know. Maybe. You know, when there were speculations about Zelensky, many people doubted, and those who support him and protect right now publicly didn't vote for him. So it's hard to say. You see, it's just he definitely already known in the world, but does make him a good leader? Big question. Don't know. Hopefully. Maybe I should try to make an interview with him. Would you be interested to hear Vitaly Klitschko, guys? Disposable saying, having another comment. That was my question for Budanov, by the way. I was wondering if he could talk about it yet. Russians pushing from the south caused a lot of current problems, but it was the easiest to defend. I think we discussed it in ITV, and he was explaining this landscape situation. So he was saying that it's easier to get back Crimea than Donbass. I might be wrong, but it's interesting you mentioning it now. So good point. Trishka saying people need to have rest, including Zaluzhny and Zelensky, and if an opportunity comes and rest and recuperation, they should not be blamed for taking. Absolutely, soldiers need rest, and so do the diplomats. Absolutely, yeah, and it's freshens your perspective and gives you more energy, and they come back stronger. Absolutely. I can't imagine how Zelensky carry on with all of it. I see questions about where I'm from. I'm Ukrainian. I live in London for 15 years. So, yeah. Guys, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your reactions. Thank you for finding time to be here. If you haven't subscribed to my podcast, channel, please do. It helps a lot, and I appreciate, and I see each of you, and I appreciate that you're from different parts of the world, and I send you love, appreciation, and gratitude for being here, part of my community, and supporting Ukraine, and invest in your time, invest in your energy, and it means a lot. Yes, Ukraine defend Europe. Ukrainian people fights bravely, long, and as long as it takes. But your support, your inspiration means a lot to all of us. And it doesn't matter where we are, we're in Ukraine or we're in the UK like me, or any other parts of the world, because there are so many Ukrainians or people with Ukrainian heritage. Thank you for being, thank you for supporting, and thank you for fighting for us in everyday life or on the global scene. Endlessly grateful. If you have any more questions, or you're watching this interview after it was live, please leave your questions or comments below. I read them all, and everything what you want to pass General Budanov, I'll pass on to his team, people who can tell him how you feel and how you're supporting him. So it will go there. And if you haven't subscribed, or if you enjoyed, please do subscribe. And if you enjoyed this live, please hit like, and so YouTube would recommend to more people. Thank you for everything, and if you would like to support my work, please become a member, and I hope you won't regret it, and you will have lots of exclusive materials.
very soon. Thank you. Have a lovely Sunday. I'm Jenny Klochko, and thank you for watching. Bye.